प्रमोद जी का आभारी हूं। इस कार्यक्रम के सरोकारों से हम लोग अच्छे से वाकिफ हैं और लगातार हम लोगों ने जब शुरू में इस कार्यक्रम को ज्वाइन किया था तो हम लोगों ने जितनी उम्मीद की थी ये कार्यक्रम लगातार इन दिनों उम्मीद के सारे दायरों को पार करके आगे बढ़ चुका है। इसके लिए हम बहुत आभारी हैं आयोजक मंडल के। और आज जो हमारे अतिथि हैं उनका स्वागत करने से पहले जो जो कुछ निर्देश प्रतिभागियों के लिए आयोजक मंडल से दिए जा रहे हैं वो पहले भी बताए जा चुके हैं। आज फिर से दोहराना जरूरी होगा कि आप सभी प्रतिभागियों से ये अनुरोध है कि अपने फोन को साइलेंट मोड पे रख लें ताकि व्याख्यान में कोई व्यवधान ना हो। अपने वीडियो और ऑडियो दोनों को ही आप लोग म्यूट कर लेंगे पुनः, क्योंकि व्यवधान ना हो। और सवालों के बारे में ये विशेष रूप से अनुरोध है कि अपने सवाल व्याख्यान खत्म होने से 10 मिनट पहले तक अगर आप लोग अपने सवाल पोस्ट कर देते हैं तो हमारे लिए आसानी हो जाएगी और हम सेलेक्ट करके उन सवालों को सामने रखेंगे। और आप अपने सवाल हिंदी में या अंग्रेजी में दोनों ही में दे सकते हैं, इसके लिए आप पूरी तरह से स्वतंत्र हैं। अब मैं डॉक्टर विपिन कुमार तिवारी जी का थोड़ा सा परिचय मैं देना चाहूँगा। सबसे पहले तो मैं स्वागत करूँगा। वेलकम सर। Dr. Bipin Kumar Tiwari is a faculty at Department of Political Science, University of Delhi. He has 15 years of teaching experience. Dr. Tiwari has done his MA, MPhil and PhD in political science. His research areas are globalization, international relations, foreign policy, disability studies, etc. His contributions are Dr. Tiwari is a recipient of National Award by Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India for empowerment of persons with disabilities as a role model. He has published number of books and research papers and has participated in various national and international conferences, workshops and seminars. He also delivered lectures at King's College London, University of Edinburgh, Scotland and National Autonomous University of Mexico. सभी प्रतिभागियों की जानकारी के लिए मैं यहाँ ये भी जोड़ना चाहूँगा कि सर डॉक्टर विपिन कुमार तिवारी OSD भी हैं दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी में, इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी सेल के, जो एक तरह के न्याय का वातावरण यूनिवर्सिटी के भीतर बनाने में एक अहम भूमिका निभाता है। इसके अलावा सर डिप्टी डीन भी हैं। तो डॉक्टर विपिन कुमार तिवारी सर का हम तहे दिल से धन्यवाद करते हैं कि उन्होंने हमारा आमंत्रण, कॉलेज का आमंत्रण स्वीकार किया। और ये हमारा सौभाग्य है कि इतनी देर से वीडियो नहीं चल रहा था। स्क्रीन शेयर में
ओके सर, आप अपना वेलकम कैरी ऑन कर सकते हैं। हमने सर की पीपीटी जो है वो अभी
तहे दिल से धन्यवाद करते हैं कि आपने इस गहरे सरोकारों से जुड़े हुए आयोजन के लिए समय देना स्वीकार किया। आप यूनिवर्सिटी में एसोसिएट प्रोफेसर हैं और बहुत तरह की व्यस्तताएं हैं आपकी, इसके बावजूद आपने समय दिया। ये आपके सरोकारों से हमें वाकिफ कराता है और ये हमारे लिए एक बड़ा अच्छा अवसर है कि हम आपके विचार सुन पाएंगे, जिन्होंने इस क्षेत्र में काम किया है और लगातार यूनिवर्सिटी में तमाम जिम्मेदारियां इस क्षेत्र से जुड़ी हुई निभा रहे हैं। हमारे लिए ये बड़े सौभाग्य की बात होगी कि हम आपके विचार इस पे सुने और आपके सरोकारों से हम परिचित हो सकें। तो आदरणीय विपिन कुमार तिवारी सर, आपका हम स्वागत करते हैं।
थैंक यू, बहुत बहुत नमस्कार सबको, एंड अ वेरी गुड आफ्टरनून टू ऑल ऑफ यू। सर्वप्रथम मैं पूरे मैत्रेयी परिवार को और खास तौर पर इस एफडीपी के आयोजकों को बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। वेरी वेरी हार्टी congratulations to Dr. Pramod, Smriti and everybody who is a member of this team and who is organizing this wonderful FDP on a very important topic of emerging technologies, which is important not only from the point of view of teachers, but for each one of us in a living world, wherein one requires to understand and know how the technologies could play a role in our life, in our day-to-day lives. And it is rather these days, I always, whenever I go to speak to young kids, I tell them that, times have changed. When we were students, we were not aware of many technologies. We used to see things, and we used to actually go to, libraries to see books, read books, then spend some time. And once you reach the library, you would find that the book is not there. So all that was there. Now things have changed. I extend very many congratulations to each one of you, my fellow participants from all across India, I'm sure would be there. And it is a topic which is dear to every one of us, not only to me and not only to, a couple of us. And I have been asked to specifically talk on the new education policy and inclusive education, which is again, the most vibrant topic to be discussed, to be understood in the present times and circumstances. All of us know that New Education Policy 2020 is a historic effort on the part of the government, of the present government, which एक्सपीरियंस है अपने आप में कि तकनीक किस तरह से जो है इनेबलिंग भी है और डिसेबलिंग भी है। दोनों तरह की बात विषय पर जिस पर की बहुत जरूरत है चर्चा की, इमर्जिंग टेक्नोलॉजीज पर, खास तौर पर टीचिंग के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में। बहुत बहुत आप सबको प्रमोद जी बधाई देता हूं, और खास तौर पर जो पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं इस प्रोग्राम के, उनको भी बधाई देता हूं और उम्मीद करता हूं कि अब तक वो बहुत लाभान्वित हुए होंगे। जितने लोगों ने भी परिचर्चा की होगी, चर्चा की होगी, आई एम प्रीटी श्योर दैट ऑल ऑफ यू वुड हैव बीन immensely benefited. I would also try to, throw some lights on a topic which is already being discussed a lot, which is already in a lot of circulation. And as I was saying that, it is a historic effort in terms of the present government. This comes after almost 34, 35 years after 1986. And we have a lot of hopes in terms of, seeing as to how this new education policy talks on inclusion. First of all, we also need to understand what is inclusion. हम सब आए दिनों चर्चा कह रहे हैं, इंक्लूजन की बहुत सारी बातें करते हैं, इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन की बात करते हैं, लेकिन मुझे खुद समझ में नहीं आता है कि इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन किस तरीके से हम एज टीचर्स, स्टूडेंट्स, फ्रैटर्निटी ऑफ एकेडमिया देखते हैं, क्या समझते हैं इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन से। मैंने कई बार कई जगह इस पर चर्चा की। देयर हैव बीन वेरियस प्लेटफॉर्म्स वेयर आई हैव बीन डिस्कसिंग एंड deliberating upon it, and I fail to understand that, I always say that, we are talking of assimilation, we are talking of integration, we are trying to bring in all sorts of possible things which is possible in terms of, creating opportunities and support in the new millennia. But how we look at inclusion is very important. Before I go on to the policies and programs, what the new education policy has to offer in terms of inclusive education, it is very important for us to know as to how we see inclusive education and how we understand inclusion altogether. So inclusion I am sitting here, you are sitting here, all of us are together today. And I believe that there could be my friends in this entire group, where some could have certain difficulties, some could have certain challenges. And despite that, we are all together and we are all trying to address each other in terms of the understanding and the workshop which we are doing today. Now, my question is that I am a person, when I am categorized as a special person, that really creates a lot of problems for me. That why is it that I am being categorized? So that's one thing which we need to understand, that in an atmosphere, I am not going to the teaching straight, I am going to the society by and large to make you aware as to what inclusion is all about. And inclusion is something that, as a friend who is here in this group, has a right to access everything, I also have a right to access everything. And if that is not happening, and if there is an impediment, I take it as an obstruction, and that obstruction is somewhat, takes you to, excludes you, and you are become a part of an excluded category. So we have to understand how is that possible. And in due course of my discussion, I will continue to bring that, throw light on that what I meant by that. What I meant by that is that I am traveling, two of us are traveling together today. Me and Pramod. Supposing, because please do not take it as a personal thing, since Pramod is known to me and so is other friends, and Smriti might be connected. So what I'm trying to say, that if two of us are traveling today together and both of us start walking, and after a distance we realize that I am not able to walk and Pramod is able to walk, what do? Pramod will have to ensure that I also, along with him, could take the way he was walking, the way he is doing things. That is what is inclusion is to be seen. It can't be seen that, Pramod makes me sit on a bench and say that you relax here, I am going and I am coming back. No, I always say, and that is from where the inclusion starts in our day-to-day business, starting from my own home and going to the workplace, going to the what you call as your educational institutions, going to the universities, going to the school, all becomes embedded understanding of looking at the inclusive society. So when we talk of the new education policy, and you would understand and see that the aim of this inclusion, which we are talking about, and where the new education policy tries to, creates a lot of impact in terms of looking on equity and inclusion. And it says that the aim of equity and inclusion is now at the heart of the new education policy. In the fields of higher education, inclusion involves restructuring of the whole system of with the aim to ensuring wide range of educational opportunities, and this will be somewhat related to the curriculum, to the pedagogy, to the segregation, to what you call as recreational opportunities, and then to understand and look forward in terms of designing and devising this policy to avoid any kind of isolation, whether it is on ethnic or linguistic minorities, or those with disabilities, and also those who face learning difficulties due to language barriers. So this is the base. This is the base on which we have to understand this entire new education policy as part of looking at in our own dynamics of seeing at in terms of what you call as the disability discourse. And when we go on to look at that, and I always say that, education is the single greatest tool for achieving social justice and equality. And inclusive and equitable education, while indeed an essential goal in its own right, is also critical to achieving an inclusive and equitable society in which in which every citizen has opportunity to dream, thrive, and contribute to the nation. And the education system, I believe, must aim to benefit India's children so that any child does not lose any opportunity to take and learn and excel in life, despite kinds of any difficulties and circumstances, and no one should be deprived of such facilities. That is also to be seen in the larger connotation and understanding of looking at the equity and equality and inclusion, which is the fervor of the new education policy. And while we try to thrive on this, while we try to look at this phenomena, this policy, tries to reaffirm that bridging the social category gaps in access, participation, and learning outcomes in school will continue to be one of the major goals of all education sector and developmental programs. All this while, I self-praise is no recommendation, and I will not say that, I am somebody that who is a master of this. But every time when I have been discussing on the entire idea of education, I always say that there is a complete disconnect from school education to what you call as institutions of higher learning. And this, I have been thriving for the last 10 years discussing on this, that there's a complete disconnect. And why I say this, before I get on to the provisions of the new education policy in terms of particularly the disability concerns, I would say that, in schools, either children with disabilities are dealt in special education schools or are dealt in a manner in which they get a lot of protection. Wherein when they come to institutions of higher learning, one, the teacher training, like me, a teacher, would not know that a friend sitting here has a difficulty of my dress code. My bright, light, dark color shirt would impact him or her so badly that he cannot sit in the class. And I would not know this. And I am to be, faulted for this. And the poor child is not able to communicate this. And the poor child is at risk to actually come to the class and explain this. Unfortunately, the Indian education system, though we have a great traditions and cultures, we have a legacy and a heritage of so many people all around us doing marvelously to the knowledge systems of India. But unfortunately, what we call today as an inclusive education, what we call today as inclusion, was somewhat missing in all discourses, in what way you would like to see. There has always been a concept of special school, which is also now embedded in our new education policy also. We are still talking of special schools. We are talking of special educators, which, yes, is very correct. But I always see the disconnect which I was talking about is with a view that you as teacher, me as teacher, would not know a child who comes straight from a special school to a complete class, which is not, what you call as accommodative, which is not, equipped to handle, the requirement and concerns of such persons or such students. So all these issues has been meticulously addressed in our present new education policy, though it is open to criticism, and I feel I may be wrong when though it's my concluding observation that if we focus too much on special schools in the 21st century, I do not know how do we want to understand inclusive setting and the inclusive environment. So as per the survey of the National Statistical Office for the 76th National Survey, NSS, in 2018 on persons with disability and their situation in India, the studies showed a very disappointing figure. I wanted to bring this for us to know that the number of persons with a disability stood at 2.2 of the total population of India. Among the persons with disabilities age group of 15 years and above, only 19.3% had the secondary level of education. Among the PWDs ranging from the age of 3 to 35, merely 10% of them went to preschool intervention program. So the what you call as the enrollment rate of 62.9% was recorded for persons with disabilities in the age of 3 to 35 who went to regular schools. And all of us know that our RPWD Act, the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Bill, which we talk Act, which we had, which the government of India passed, has many provisions in place, which is also somewhat reflected in our new education policy. And the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act passed in 2016 to ensure that students with disabilities can learn together and have access to education as students without disabilities, with the provision of teaching. Just give me a moment. I'll just So I was talking about the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act, which was passed to ensure that students with disabilities can learn in the same environment and setting as with the non-disabled counterparts. And there was a provision in the teaching learning modalities which could be adapted to meet the needs of everyone. Still, you would see that just 9% of the persons with disabilities complete their education, with while 45% of the population of the disability is still illiterate, meaning that they have a low chance of progressing in life or having a financially independent and respectful survival. So while I see this as a phenomena, and I see the base of the education policy, which tries to bring light on the assimilation of the various concerns of the present times and circumstances, and it is trying to see and ensure as to how this mitigation could happen and how the challenges which have been over the millennia could be addressed. And I still see that though the government, has been trying to make education more accessible, but the infrastructure in its schools is not supportive, since less than 40% of the schools in India are equipped to cater to the needs of, persons with disabilities. And I would not say it's just the infrastructure. I would say that, once you go to school, I'll give you my own case to substantiate that. When I go to a school, I find that my daughter's classroom is on the 3rd floor. And, till a year back, the school did not have a lift facility. Now you could understand, for a parent to reach to a 3rd floor to attend to a parent-teacher meeting, how difficult it could be. That how would one reach? And if I am not able to go, it would cause a sheer embarrassment to my own children, They would say that my father is not able to climb. So are we trying to understand inclusion and the inclusive setup in that connotation, or are we trying to look beyond that, is what is to be seen. So when I say that 40% of schools are not equipped to cater to the needs of persons with disabilities, and in that scenario, if students come to the college or to the universities, it is actually very difficult for the fraternity of the academia at university level to address the challenges without, having a connect. So I have been saying that, the schools and the universities must be interconnected in terms of the fact that while a child comes in 12th grade or 10th grade to give his final year exams, there should be some mechanism in place to ensure and see that, teachers from institutions of higher learning go to schools wherever the universities are located, try and interact in the classroom, try and see as to how the school deal with such students, and try and get some exposure and understanding to such scenario. If that is not happening, it is still, we all have been seeing policies, we all have been seeing programs, we'll have to travel a long way. So as I was pointing out to you, that schools in India does not have requisite facilities to cater to the needs of persons with disabilities. And only you would see that I was just trying to browse and find out that 17% of their schools, even do not have proper washrooms for, accessible washrooms for persons with disabilities. So if this is the situation, we have to address all the provisions of the new education policy in the larger ambit of looking at this. So even different types of disabilities have their own set of issues, because anyone with cerebral palsy and girls with disability is one more reason that excludes them, from being a part of the what you call as being in the entire education system. So while these are some of the issues one understands, and most of you joining me here today for this afternoon are aware on this idea, are very well understand this, but we will have to see that why is it that this situation exists even after 70, 75 or whatever years of independence, is something which needs to be seen. However, the new education policy aims at making education more, digitized. Still, you would see that 59% of schools in India have access to basic bare amenities, and this is something which is to be seen, which has to see the light of the day in the larger ambit of our 2020 education policy, which we'll have to see. With all these issues and with all these concerns, students with disabilities and special needs are being seen as an important, aspect to be included in the new education policy 2020, which also resonates with the Rights of Persons with Disability Act, and which needs extra attention, not only on paper, but also in reality, is something we will have to see and we'll have to understand in our times to come. So to understand the new education policy, that how it provides various provisions in terms of persons with disabilities, the chapter 6 of the new education policy primarily, highlights some of the provisions in programs, particularly in respect of new education policy for persons with disabilities. And I have picked up some of the clauses from there. So the first is the policy which deals with it is 6.2.5, and which talks on the policy, recognizes the importance of creating enabling mechanisms for providing children with special needs, or it uses the word Divyang, though there is lot of discussion on the connotation of Divyang, and the same opportunities of obtaining quality education as any other child. That's the first policy or the provision which comes to be seen, which is enumerated in the new education policy. And the second one talks on ensuring inclusion and equal participation of children with disabilities in the ECCE. And now you would say, what does this ECC is? ECC is Early Childhood Care of Education, and the schooling system will also be accorded highest priority. Children with disabilities will be enabled to fully participate in regular schooling from the foundational stage. Please note this provision that it talks on the facets of regular schooling from the foundational stage. However, there is something which I was trying to point out to you, foundational stage to the higher education, whereas it also talks on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act, which defines inclusive education as a system of education wherein students with or without disabilities learn together, and the system of teaching and learning is suitably adapted to meet to the requirements and needs of different types of disabilities. However, this policy is in complete consonance with the provision of the RPWD Act of 2016, which also endorses its recommendation with regards to school education. While preparing the curricula by the NCERT is required to ensure consultations with the expert bodies on dealing with persons with disabilities. And to this end, the next provision talks on schools and school complexes will be provided resources for the integration of children with disabilities, recruitment of special educators with cross-disability training, and for the establishment of resource centers wherever needed, especially for persons with severe disabilities or multiple disabilities. We also talk on barrier-free access for all children with disabilities will be enabled as per the RPWD Act, though I have a lot of reservations on this, that how this barrier-free access is quote-unquote understood and defined. Different categories of disabilities will have differing needs, and school complexes will work and be supported for providing all persons with disabilities accommodations and support mechanism tailored to suit their needs and to ensure their full participation and inclusion in the classroom. In particular, assistive technologies and devices and appropriate technology-based tools, as well as adequate language, appropriate learning materials, example, textbooks in accessible formats such as large print and the braille will be made available to support children with disabilities, integrate more easily into the all activities of the classroom, and they could engage with teachers and their peers. This will also apply to all school activities, including arts, sports, and vocational education. The National Institute of Open Schools will develop high-quality modules to teach Indian Sign Language and to teach basic subjects of using sign language. Adequate attention will be paid to the safety and security of children with disabilities. Well, I am nobody to offer a critical perspective. It is open to discussion to all of us in terms of looking at these provisions. These are no doubt in exemplary provisions, but as I mentioned to you while I was enumerating the challenges, that we will have to see that how much real and to what extent and to what mile we travel together will have to be seen in times to come. It is still in nascent stage. Implementations have to happen at different universities, and some pedagogy is to be adopted for its implementation. And we will have to see. While in my concluding observations, I would like to point out certain concerns which I see as looking at these so elaborate provisions of this. And we have further provisions. I have taken all the provisions for you to know as to what it is talking on. So it talks on what you call as per the RPWD Act 2016, children with benchmark disabilities shall have the choice of regular or special schooling. Resource centers in conjunction with special educators will support the rehabilitation and educational needs of learners with severe or multiple disabilities, and will assist parents and guardians in achieving high quality homeschooling and skilling for such students as needed. You see, this is another important and a milestone feature or a provision which is to be seen when it talks of homeschooling for persons with severe disabilities, persons with, in such a situation where we find that, they are almost in the bed, and no technology or no medication or no rehabilitation is able to support them to come out of their house. So for such people, this is a wonderful provision of ensuring home-based education. But again, it will have to see the light of the day as to how this happened. So home-based education will continue to be a choice available for children with severe and profound disabilities who are unable to go to school. The children under home-based education must be treated as equal to any other child in the general system. There shall be an audit of home-based education on its what you call as efficacy and effectiveness, as to how, using the principle of equity and equality of opportunity. Guidelines and standards for home-based schooling shall be developed on this audit in the line with in consonance with the provisions of the RPWD Act. While it developed on what is while it is clear that the education for all children with disability is the responsibility of the state, technology-based solutions will be used for orientation of parents, caregivers, with wide-scale dissemination of learning materials to enable parents and caregivers to actively support such children with special requirements, and that will be accorded priority. Now, these are some of the very, 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 very significant provisions which is very important in terms of reflections of the government's vision towards persons with disabilities. And though there is no doubt about this, that it is indeed a commendable efforts on part of the government. However, again, it'll have to be seen that while these provisions comes to be implemented in practicality, then only one would know what are the challenges, what are the issues, how one could deal with them, how one could find a solution to those problems. The further provisions also reads on the fact that most of the classrooms will have children with specific learning disabilities who need continuous support. And to that effect, it says that research on that effect is not clear as to how this has to be seen, how the support is to be extended, and what could be done to ensure better chances of progress. And then it further talks on that teachers must be supported to identify such learning disabilities early and plan specifically for their mitigation. So I would always say that mitigation is and integration is very important. I was giving you an example of a shirt and saying that a dark color shirt which I wear and go to a classroom, wherein without realizing that could reflect badly on you, I would not know that because I have no exposure to such training, is something what is needed today. So specific training is something which has to be module designed, and teachers will have to be trained in that manner if you are actually talking in terms of having a visionary provision of looking at assimilation and looking at mitigation and talking on the idea of inclusion. So it further talks on the specific actions will include the use of appropriate technology. So everywhere, why this is important, why Dr. Pramod chose to ask me to talk on this new education policies in terms of inclusive education, with a view that how it talks on the various aspects of technology in terms of the daily teaching mechanism, daily classroom business is something to be seen. So it says that will include appropriate technology, allowing and enabling the children to work at their own pace with flexible curricula to leverage each child's strengths and creating an ecosystem for appropriate assessment and certification. So it goes on and talks on assessment and certification agencies. So it goes on to talk that assessment and certification agencies, including the proposed new National Assessment Center. The government plans to create a new National Assessment Center, which will be named as PARAKH, and PARAKH. And if you find out about PARAKH is what? Is performance, assessment, review, analysis of knowledge for holistic development. Is PARAKH, which will formulate guidelines and recommend appropriate tools for conducting such assessment from foundational stage to the higher education. So the disconnect which I was talking out is somewhat spelled here, and the new education policy tries to connect that gap, and it wants to bridge that gap, so that if that gap is bridged out, if that disconnect is taken into a connection, it will definitely have a lot of impact, and it'll surely drive us to what we are trying to achieve through this new education policy. A half a minute. I will not say a break, but I'll just sip a water. Clearly audible, and there is no. So moving forward, so you see, this assimilation, this connect, which I was trying to figure, and that was my concern. Pramod, is there no provision to admit these people at once every time it is popping up in the screen? People should either come in knowledge of how to teach children with specific disabilities, including the learning disabilities. So you see, while we were at 1995, the number of disabilities were limited, and now we have 21 categories of disability. Each one of the disability has specific requirement. So if I quote unquote say that I'm a person with locomotor disability, so my locomotor disability is not only limited to my what you call as hands or legs, it is limited, it is to the entire body. Now, what kind of support I need will have to be assessed. Now, in doing so, nowhere I'm talking about our own India, our great country, there is no mechanism wherein you can assess and see that, look, this is the best thing that would suit him or her, and he can, be with normal setting and could work comfortably. So that does not happen. So we still have to, travel a very far distance to reach that goal, to reach that area. And that is also to be seen in terms of looking at the provisions of the new education policy. So it talks on the fact that, the awareness and knowledge of how to teach children with specific disabilities will be an integral part of teacher education program, along with, gender sensitization and sensitization towards all underrepresented groups in order to, reverse their underrepresentation, which is again a very, very phenomenal thinking in the right direction in terms of the education system of our country. And it is very important. So they also, I am not taking the provision of theirs on their SDGs, where they are talking on the socially, economically deprived categories. They're talking on those. I have specifically taken on what you call as the provisions of the Act. And you see these on enumerating these provisions, on looking on all these provisions, you would see that the basic crux and the basic idea of bringing in these provisions of the new education policy 2020 is very clear and apt in terms of, laying down foundation for an inclusive society, which is still a reality for many of the people from the deprived majority. So if that has to be seen in that larger understanding as to how this is going to be realized. And it is very important that technology awareness training is somewhat not only important in terms of the entire education pattern and the education system, it is rather it will have to be embedded in the entire pedagogy and curricula if we really want to take things forward. So I highlighted only mainly chapter 6 talks on the various aspirations of persons with disabilities in terms of formalized policies of the government of India. And I somehow feel that still, I was trying to understand the new education policy and the RTE 2009 and our own 2009, and then in 2012 and our own RPWD Act 2016. I realized that there is some disconnect between all the provisions, and you see that there is a lack of coherence between the 2009 Right to Education Act and the RPWD on the educational options for children with disabilities, which has been highlighted as a major point, of differences, I would say. The 2012 RTE amended provisions for children with disabilities talks that, children to be enrolled in neighborhood schools and recognizes a separate category with children with severe disabilities who can opt out for home-based education. And on the other hand, our Rights of Persons with Disability Act recognizes the right of children with benchmark disabilities to enroll either in neighborhood schools or special schools of their choice. Thus, you see, while the RTE is silent on the special schools, the RPWD does not offer what you call as guidance on home-based education. And, however, the new education policy tries to attempt to resolve this issue by clearly stating all three. It talks on neighborhood school, it talks on special schools, it talks on home-based schools as an options for education for persons with disabilities, thereby attempting to resolve, the ambiguities around the school choice. It further states that home-based education will be audited based on the norms in the RPWD Act. And it says that an audit of home-based education is essential, as there are concerns about how children are identified to receive their provision of the equality of quality education in the provided framework. So, I mean, it tries to talk on the fact that block level special educators have highlighted, several issues and challenges they face in providing home-based education, including time and resource constraints, which I said that I would also, try to bring to the fore for our own discussion as to, that it is the way the provisions appear and what are the challenges. I also feel that the new education policy complicates the idea of school choice for children in terms of, introducing school complexes and school rationalization. And this, it takes, it talks on the fact that on the 5 to 10 kilometer radius, all these schools, whichever are there, will be part of such complexes, and they'll become, consolidated within that single framework of complex. But it is something which we need to see as to how practically this is going to work. So the document states that this will help ensure that there are adequate resources for children with disabilities, including resource centers and special educators. So the idea, what is envisioned here is that, within the radius of 5 to 10 kilometers, if we have 10 schools, and I find that one school does not have that requisite support, so I could go to the next school and get those support. Or I could pull the educator from that school and bring him or her here to impart education, to impart what is needed. So it is again a brilliant way of looking at it, but I do not know, and I do not see, and I do not understand that how practically this is going to happen. Because we only can't see Delhi, or we only can't see metropolitans, or we only can't see, what you call as the urbans. We have to go to the rurals to see that how do you assimilate this school complexes in terms of looking at the envisioned mechanism of the policies and programs of the new education policy. So it has to be seen in that. So though it feels, the idea under this is that, it will help ensure that there is adequate resources for children with disabilities, including resource centers, including special educators. And this also seeks to solve a key problem for children with disabilities, as there is a grave shortage of special educators. And at block level, special educators are often required to cover children across, various places and long distances. So it is believed that this will address, and it further addresses, several aspects of teacher education, preparation, service conditions that are relevant for children with disabilities. These include, short-term specialization courses to teach children with disabilities. As I was pointing out at the outset, while I was training, that, training is going to be very important. And it is not only important, I always believe that, if your friends say, Sumit has some problems, you would not know about my problem until and unless I come to stay together with you, or I come to be with you for quite some time. And if that does not happen, I really do not know in what way we are trying to, envision certain provisions. I do not know how we are trying to look at the various programs and policies to be seen in the larger understanding of the education system of the country. So when I say that, short-term training, specialized training, specialized modules will have to be given, and then teachers will be, provided greater autonomy. It talks on autonomy in selecting pedagogical tools relevant to their classroom context, and will, it will not be something that, it will not, be restricted to a stereotype setting. So but again, it will have to be seen, and it further highlights that teachers will be trained to recognize and identify disabilities, particularly the specific learning disabilities. The non-teaching responsibilities and teacher shortages, are some of, I feel are also embedded with this, which will also have to be seen while looking at these policies and programs. I also understand and find that, these policies, while trying to, emphasize accountability standards based on learning outcomes over inputs, and it talks on the, what I was mentioning about the PARAC, the National Assessment Center, and which is expected to, work on the assessment mechanism. But we will have to see that until and unless that is in place, what is the mechanism that is going to be adopted, how we are going to see that, how we are going to understand that. It does talk that, National Assessment Survey will be in place for the time till PARAC is established. But then again, we'll have to see that how it is going to happen. And the policy, new education policy, also talk on the National Testing Agency, that which will be there to conduct, aptitude tests for admissions and pre-service teacher education. And it talks, that it will have, accessible modalities. But I'm sorry to say that with no personal offenses and not restricted to what has been limited to any agency, I have seen in the previous years that wherever aptitude tests have happened on the various centers by any of the institutions across India, such accessible facilities for persons with disabilities were totally missing. I remember receiving calls from different parts of the country on one aptitude test, and I was told that there is no facility. The centers were in more not only inappropriate, but they were not at all accessible. There were a lot of impediments. So again, enumerating, highlighting, bringing certain provisions and policies is an excellent, brilliant, and a good idea. But how this vision is going to be implemented, how this vision is going to be seen, will only be understood in terms of times, in terms of what you call as the whole way forward, which we have to see in our updated time to come. So we will all see to that effect, and we will all look to that effect. But the policy has been hailed, as a remarkable improvement upon its predecessor, which was in 1986. It has several provisions that will be a great leap forward. It will also be, inclusive for special students and their needs, for providing them with a level playing field to grow and lead a meaningful and a fruitful life. The policy has been designed to create what you call as enabling mechanisms, enabling provisions for children with special needs in obtaining the same education opportunities like any other child. But I believe and I feel that there is still a lot of things which need to be seen, and which needs to be practically embedded in the understanding of the policy. I mean, all of us here would agree that we are talking on training, we are talking on barrier-free environment, we are talking on inclusion, we are talking on integration, we are talking on inclusion, We are talking on the pedagogy. We are talking on autonomy. We are talking on what you call as the own design. We are talking on an accessible curricula. We are talking on giving options. We are talking on cluster schools. We are talking on special schools. But how this is going to be done? Where are the resources? As you know, as one of the leading institutions in the country, our own university, I get to see that is flooded with challenges of getting resources to actually talk on actually facilitate what you call as providing world-class accessible education. And quote unquote, I mean, all of us say, and we will have to understand this, that we always have to see that any provision, any program will have to be seen within the economic capacity of the state and the institution. And within the limited economic capacity of the state and the institution, it is very important that how with scant resources, how with meager resources, one could talk of quality, one could talk of equity, one could talk of equality, and one could talk of accessibility in education system. And when again I go back to the school and I go back to grade 1 for a child, and I find that there is a child, as the new education policy addresses the barrier of language, and there is a child who is not aware of any language. How do you see that this training program, because this policy is going to be implemented soon, and we will have a lot of expectations that, well, these were the provisions which is listed, this is mandated by Government of India, this is a part of the education program, why is it that this is not implemented? So that vision for implementation is, I do not know, is something which will have to be seen, that how that vision is going to be implemented. So one, there is a program in place, there is a policy in place, and two, we'll have to see that how these policies are going to be implemented. What is the timeline for implementing these policies? What is the resource based for these policies? Is very, very, very critical for particularly for we as educators, we as academia, to see in times to come and see as to how these policies will take will realize the aspirations of the deprived class or the disadvantaged groups in the society. So that will have to be seen. So while I am talking on assimilation, integration, and inclusion, how do I do inclusion? I told you that Pramod kept walking and I sat on the bench. I had no way because I had difficulties in walking. So what is the mechanism? I go to what you call as a restaurant. My friends with me quickly climb whatever steps are there. You would not find, I mean, again, no personal offenses to anyone in this country. You would hardly find restaurants in the so-called posh locality very friendly. You will have either steps, you will have difficulty in climbing, you will have a lot of concerns. So when I say that recreation is my right as part of this education policy, how is that going to be addressed? How is that going to be seen? So in the larger ambit of the policy, which I always see that the policy is designed and devised to avoid any kind of segregation in terms of barriers, whatever, whether it is social or whether it is linguistic or whether it is ethnic or whether it is related to the humanly concerns or the physical concerns. But it is a practical thing which we'll have to see. which we'll have to understand that how are we going to see. So what are the challenges? So challenges of a teacher here is that that teacher is not aware as to how to cater. So I give you an what you call as an answer script, which is, you know, written very badly. The words are missing in the answer scripts. And the teacher sees that answer scripts and fails the student without realizing that this answer script could be a script of a child who has learning disability, who had tried to write answers and has committed mistakes. With due respects to each of my friends in the fraternity of the entire academia of the world, we will have to understand this. We'll have to take extra pain to see as to what is being trying to be, you know, enumerated, what is being trying to be, you know, delivered or expressed. A child is trying to express something with lot of difficult words which has not been able to write because he has a specific learning disability. How do we address that? Similar could be the case with our vision impaired persons. When they type on the screen, and if the script reaches typed, some people say, "Oh, how has this come? I have no idea." So we need to understand this. Similarly, I go to a classroom setting, though I was also a part and parcel of the our own university. And believe me, I always used to climb second floor of my classroom. I never had any regrets in life. And I used to wear a caliper shoe, which was above my knee, and I had to bend and then somehow managed to go to the class. And I categorically remember, though this is being the lecture is on a recorded thing. And I remember one day I got late for the class, and I was thrown out of the class by a colleague teacher of mine who threw me out. He said that, "No, you can't enter the class." And I have no regrets to that. What I'm trying to tell you here is a very, 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 very landmark policy has come to be put as part of our National Education Policy Initiative, as part of, you know, rightful thinking. But where is that thinking limited will have to be seen. And how do we see that? How do we understand that is something is for us to understand. That it is not with me. I, as a person with disability, might be, you know, giving my own perspective of looking at it. But as a teacher, as a colleague, we'll also have to devise some mechanism. We'll also have to see as to, you know, a child goes to the class and says, "Allow me to record your lecture." You say, "You can't record my lecture." Why? We'll have to come out of these. I mean, no policy is going to, you know, create anything. It is us. I always say, each one teach one. I'm always reminded of that Gandhi's philosophy, that each one teach one, and that each one teach one will definitely create a chain and reach to the last. So it is still, I feel that the policy is yet to kickstart in terms of, you know, on its implementation lines, and we'll have to see as to how the visions and missions of these policies are implemented, and all of us should meaningfully participate to ensure that these policies gets implemented for the larger ambit of the what you call as the disadvantaged groups. And then only we will have the real education, real realization of education in the country. With these words, I thank each one of you for listening to me so patiently, and hope that I would have been able to throw some very little meager light on the provisions and programs. And now to the coordinator of the program. Thank you.
Ramesh ji, you can take questions in Hindi और फिर मैं
ओके नुपुर जी, इसमें मुझे हिंदी में प्रश्न दिखाई नहीं दे रहे और
Thank you so much, sir, for that ever wonderful talk, for apprising everybody with the, with the policy aspect of inclusion and what new education policy is going to, get to all of us. So thank you so much for that very, very enlightening lecture. So our participants have a lot of questions here, so I'll very quickly read them. First question is by Sonam Zango. And he asked that is inclusiveness means only the use of technology in higher education? Do we have to learn some specific technology to learn and teach differently abled fellows of us? Is every school, college, university in India equipped with such an infrastructure to provide NEP to all the to everybody who's part of the institution?
Yeah, thank you. A nice question, but you see, if you could have heard me, that is what I was trying to tell you, that none of the schools and none of the institutions are fully equipped to, undertake these challenges. So inclusion is not only what you talk on technology. No, inclusiveness does not mean technology. Technology is just, an enabling mechanism for us to create an enabling setup in terms of a classroom. So inclusion is something which will have to be seen in a larger ambit. And by larger ambit, I mean that it is not only just going to the classroom, attending a lecture. It amounts to everything for a child or a student, from his home to the college or to the school, to his classroom, to the washroom, to the canteen, to the teacher. It is everything. It includes everything. So we'll have to see that. And while I was saying that, as you're rightly pointing out, that as part of I was saying that this policy is still unfolding. So when it is unfolding, we'll have to see that how the implementation takes place. I also mentioned that, resource is very important. There is a talk on the resource, that there will be ample resources, there will be ample training. So training not only on technology, training on specific disabilities is very important. Training not only on disabilities, training on also on all the disadvantaged sections of the society, the marginalized sections of the society. They're all part of our inclusive education system. They are all included. So we'll have to see in that concern. So do not limit it to technology only. Technology is something which will act as an enabling thing. Like if I am not able to use my hand on a computer, if my teacher sitting here can do it for me, why should she not do it? Or why he should not do it? He should rather help, support, and see that. So that is what is needed. So there is no technology needed there. We'll have to create a setup, understanding, sensitivity that is important. And if that happens, then definitely things will unfold. Also, you'll have to understand that as this entire theme of the FDP talks on the various facets of technology, which is very important today. And all of us would agree that I was telling right at my start, I was saying that when we were students, we used to go to library to pick up a book. And on top of it, when you reach the library, you found that book was missing. It was a problem. So today, we take the advantage of technology. You type something, you try Google and find many things. So that's how technology is supporting. We'll have to understand in that perspective. So besides technology, there are other things also involved in it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that answer. We have a lot of other questions
thanks so much for your courage,
as well. I think somebody is unmuted themselves. I request them to please mute yourself. Yeah, so that the next question is by Dr. Anish Kumar. He from PGDAV College. He asks, sir, do you think it is possible to form a special smart classroom with special equipment for students with special needs?
Nice question, Anish, but my only concern is that it will again defeat the purpose of inclusion. We will have to have a smart class which is the same class for everybody. So there only if there is some specific technology required for some sections or some disability, which would try and embed that in the smart classroom. So the concept and the idea of smart classrooms would be such wherein it is a technologically based classroom and it enables everybody. Me as a disabled and you as non-disabled could sit in the same classroom and participate. Not that you create a separate classroom. Then again, it will defeat the purpose of inclusive education.
Thank you for that answer, sir. Next question is by Mridula Joshi, and she asks that are there special provisions to train teachers, especially making them capable of dealing with serious disabilities?
Yes, the new policy talks on that. It spells out clearly that teachers will be trained, training will have to be given on the pedagogy, on the curricula, on the, how to, give lectures, deliver lectures, attend to students or persons with severe disability. So that is very much specified in the policy, but again, it will have to be seen, as I was pointing out, that when it happens is something to be seen, and what is the mechanism for it to happen. As I pointed out in the discussion that Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities is also involved in this entire exercise. So I'm hoping that they will definitely create some module, and in sooner or later stage, our University Grants Commission, which will be named differently, will definitely create something, because this policy is already rolled out. So if it is rolled out, it will have to be implemented.
Okay. Next question is by Ms. Sushma, and she asks, by Ms. Sushma Khurana, she asks that are the assistive devices and softwares to meet the requirements of the differently abled, will these softwares and devices be provided free of cost by the government as per the NEP or not?
Well, as far as devices are concerned, there are a lot of devices which are addressing the challenges of various disabilities, but not to the 100% rate. Right. If I talk of, OCR conversion only, Hindi is still a challenge. So is Sanskrit, so is other language. So the accuracy rate is a problem. Otherwise, there are other devices. I mean, there are devices and softwares which tries to read your expression and create something on the screen. But by the time it does that, and 10 times I see the screen and find that my answer is not coming, then it becomes a problem. So it requires a lot of things. As far as the providing free devices to the concerned persons is concerned, I agree that it should be there. It does, the policy broadly talks on that, but there is no specific mention, because it is also a part of the parcel of the RPWD Act. So what is not here will be there, and what is not there will be here. So that was the idea. But I would say that it's a good thing and a brilliant idea that it should be free, but I feel that, it should not be in a way that it should be given to somebody. While you come to an institution, it should be in such a way that you are able to take maximum advantage. And once you go back home, there should be some provision of, like we issue books, there should be provision in institutions to issue those things. And at the end of the day, it could be returned. So if that mechanism is worked out in various institutions all across the country, then definitely we will have a better way.
Right. So I'd like to take one last question in English, and then I will request Rameshji to take the question in Hindi. This is a question by Dr. Pratima Kaushik from Jesus and Mary College. She asks, sir, since educational institutions lack resources and due to pandemic, classes are going online, Do you think implementation of NEP in the coming session will create chaos and is a distant dream to achieve in a very short period of time?
This is a question which, I mean, I was myself telling you in my discussion that we'll have to see how it unfolds, particularly in the time of pandemic. Institutions are still taking decision. Committees have been formed and various task forces have been formed to work on the implementation part. So I believe all the provisions cannot be implemented so shortly. It is actually practically not possible. But some of the provisions in terms of curricula and other things will definitely be implemented, and rest might take time. As you say that in the pandemic, I mean, again, it is a government's call. All the institutions in the country go by what is being circulated by the government. So if the Education Ministry has already said that implemented by July, we will have no options but to implement it by July. So that has already started. So there are many things which it is something which we can't say. But yes, I agree with you that it requires time. I mean, there are so many provisions, but some of the provisions and relating to the curricula and syllabi will definitely come and it will come to roll out.
Thank you, sir.
धन्यवाद सर। जी धन्यवाद सर। हिंदी में एक प्रश्न है सर, हमारे देश में ग्रामीण पृष्ठभूमि के स्कूल और कॉलेज में विशेष आवश्यकता वाले छात्रों के मूल्यांकन की व्यवस्था नहीं है। ऐसे में शिक्षक को पता ही नहीं चल पाता कि किस विद्यार्थी को क्या समस्या है। खासकर लर्निंग डिजेबिलिटी को डायग्नोस नहीं कर पाते। इस समस्या के लिए आपका क्या सुझाव है? ये डॉक्टर अजीत तोमर जी हैं, गुरुकुल कांगड़ी विश्वविद्यालय हरिद्वार से।
अजीत जी, बहुत अच्छा प्रश्न है आपका। और मैं बताऊं कि जब मेरे से एक शायद छोटी सी मिस्टेक ये हो गई कि मुझे थोड़ा हिंदी में भी बीच में बोलना था। मैंने प्रमोद जी को प्रॉमिस किया था और मैं भूल गया। मुझे लगता है कि मैं जब ब्लॉक लेवल की बात कर रहा था तो मैंने और इस पॉलिसी ने खुद ही उजागर किया है कि वहां ये समस्याएं हैं। स्कूल्स जो ग्रामीण स्तर के स्कूल्स हैं या जो महाविद्यालय हैं, वहां टीचर्स को किसी भी तरीके की डिसेबिलिटी से संबंधित जानकारी बहुत ज्यादा नहीं है। और नहीं होने के कारण इसमें उनकी गलती नहीं है। मैंने आपको बताया कि आजादी के इतने वर्षों के बाद आज भी हम अभी उसी पर चर्चा कर रहे हैं कि हम किस तरह से चीजों को आगे बढ़ाएंगे। इसीलिए इस पॉलिसी में, इस नीति में, नई शिक्षा नीति में खास तौर पर ट्रेनिंग की बात की जा रही है कि ग्रामीण स्तर पर भी ट्रेनिंग दिया जाएगा और यह प्रयास किया जाएगा कि जो भी शिक्षक महाविद्यालय में या स्कूलों में हैं, उनको यह ट्रेनिंग दिया जाए और उनको यह समझाया जाए, बताया जाए कि कौन सी डिसेबिलिटी की पहचान कैसे होनी है। ये साफ साफ अंकित और चिन्हित है इस नीति में। और हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि आने वाले समय में, तुरंत तो नहीं, इस पर जरूर काम होगा। काफी संस्थाएं जो हैं जो स्पेसिफिक लर्निंग डिसेबिलिटी से या लर्निंग डिसेबिलिटी से संबंध रखती हैं, वो इस पर कार्य कर रही हैं। और मैंने अभी मेंशन भी किया, मैंने एक व्हाइट पेपर भी आपको दिखाने का प्रयास किया था कि हम एज शिक्षक, एज टीचर्स, कॉलीग्स, हमें शायद पता ही नहीं होता कि हम किसी खास तरह के डिसेबिलिटी के छात्र या छात्रा का मूल्यांकन कर रहे हों। उसमें कई सारे स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक्स मिलते हैं। हमें लगता है कि इस बच्चे को कुछ आता नहीं होगा, हम उसके भाव को नहीं समझते और हम सीधा उसे मैं ये नहीं कहता फेल कर देते, लेकिन हम ठीक से उनका मूल्यांकन नहीं कर पाते। तो ये मूल्यांकन नहीं कर पाने में हमारा दोष नहीं है, बल्कि एक ट्रेनिंग की जरूरत है हम सबको। और वह ट्रेनिंग इस शिक्षा नीति के द्वारा देने की बात कही गई है। उसके लिए स्पेसिफिक मॉड्यूल्स प्रत्येक डिसेबिलिटी से संदर्भ में बनाए जाएंगे और उस पर ट्रेनिंग होगा, और यह बहुत आवश्यक है।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर।
थैंक यू।
आपके पूरे व्याख्यान में सर ये पहली बार अभी तक हम लोगों ने, मैं भी एक प्रतिभागी के तौर पे यहाँ पे इतने दिनों से जुड़ा हूँ और अभी तक ये पहलू इतना खुलकर सामने नहीं आया था। शिक्षा व्यवस्था से जुड़े हुए सारी समस्याएं और जो चुनौतियां हैं, और खास करके जो नई शिक्षा नीति के संदर्भ में आपने जो बात कही कि उसमें प्रावधान बहुत सारे किए गए हैं, लेकिन अभी भी बुनियादी सुविधाएं जो हैं, बुनियादी आधारभूत जिसे बोलते हैं इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, उससे जुड़ी हुई सुविधाएं जब तक नहीं होंगी तो अच्छे इरादे भी शायद जमीन पे बहुत ज्यादा काम करते नहीं दिखाई देंगे। तो उसकी जरूरतों पे भी आपने बल दिया, और सबसे बड़ा एक मंत्र की तरह आपने इस खास विषय पे ये बात कही जो हम पहले से भी सुनते आ रहे हैं, लेकिन इस खास विषय पे संवेदनशील होने के लिए आपने जो कहा ईच वन टीच वन, ये एक मंत्र की तरह है जो कि हमें भी उतना ही एंगेज करने की जरूरत पर बल देता है जितना सरकार और व्यवस्था को। तो ये बहुत अच्छे पहलू आपने उठाए। मैं औपचारिक रूप से धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करने के लिए आदरणीय डॉक्टर स्मृति सिंह जी को आमंत्रित करता हूं। वो पूरे कार्यक्रम की प्रमोद जी के साथ कन्वीनर।
Yeah, I'm there.
जी जी।
So,
स्मृति मैम, क्षमा चाहूंगा, आपको बीच में रोक रहा हूँ क्योंकि
Yeah.
आपके बोलने के बाद कुछ बचेगा नहीं। मैं सोच रहा हूँ मैं भी थोड़ा बोल लेता हूँ। एक्चुअली हिंदी के प्रश्न तो आए ही थे, साथ में हमारे साथ अमेरिका से एक वैदिक विद्वान जुड़े हैं, डॉक्टर उमेश कुमार सिंह जी। अमेरिका में ये विजिटिंग प्रोफेसर हैं। इनको हिंदी, संस्कृत और इंग्लिश तीनों भाषाओं पे इनका आधिपत्य है। उन्होंने प्रश्न नहीं किया है लेकिन आपके सत्र की तारीफ किया है। तारीफ तो कई लोगों ने किया है, लेकिन मैं उनमें से एक कम से कम चाहता हूँ कि पढ़ दूँ। तो डॉक्टर उमेश जी लिखते हैं कि बहुत सुंदर, सारगर्भित एवं प्रभावोत्पादक व्याख्यान, हार्दिक धन्यवाद। उन्होंने
बहुत बहुत
प्रस्तुता
नमस्कार।
के रूप में आपको दिया है धन्यवाद, साथ ही कुछ धन्यवाद का श्रेय आपके व्याख्यान से हमें भी मिल गया है। आयोजक गण का भी उन्होंने उल्लेख किया है। तो मैं सर उनकी तरफ से और अपनी पूरी समिति की ओर से, आयोजन समिति की ओर से आपको धन्यवाद देता हूँ, और स्मृति मैम से आग्रह करूँगा कि स्मृति मैम अपना जो धन्यवाद ज्ञापन है अपने तरीके से करें। धन्यवाद।
Yeah, sir, it was respected all the participants. हम सब के लिए सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है, it is important for all of us that when we go for admissions, this we all have to promise today. And any disabled students come to take admission, we don't have to say कि आप ये subject नहीं पढ़ पाओगे. You have to challenge yourself. How can you teach that subject to that differently able child? That would be when sir's topic, sir's everything would be like will be put in the plan. Then it would be success for sir to devote his time for us. Whatever he has delivered lecture in such a short notice, he has accepted our invitation on such a busy schedule. I'm really grateful to you, sir, and I expect all the participants to take this message and take out this on your workplace, that don't deny anyone any subject. Let them do, let them study, let them decide what they can study. Your duty is to provide where there is sensitivity, where there is will to do, everything comes. Technology also comes, everything gets like whatever limitations we have, we get over with that. So our whole sole aim of this FDP Come Refresher course is this only, to sensitize teacher to accept their differently able students in a way that they should love them, they should accept them, they should be wanted for them. Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate the talk you have delivered, the emphasis you have focused on the policies. That is great, that is remarkable. It was mesmerizing. Thank you so much, sir.
थैंक यू। नमस्कार।